Hello and welcome to your weekly update here on www.thepapare.com. We're bringing you all the action from the school's rugby arena. It's been an outstanding weekend of action once again. We've got only 4 matches every weekend now instead of the 5 matches that we had previously from the 2 groups. So let's start with the action straight away in week 7. We saw the first match that we're going to talk about is Royal versus Kingswood. So Royal travelled up to Bogambara with renewed hope after beating St. Peter's. And you will remember that St. Peter's drew with Kingswood. So Royal would have thought now that we've beaten St. Peter's pretty easily, we might be able to do a number on Kingswood as well. And Kingswood, the only other unbeaten team in the league now alongside Pathana, although they have drawn a game, and they were hoping to keep that unbeaten tag intact as they hosted Royal. And 19 points was the lead that they went out to. Royal managed to score and come back to a 19-18 deficit, and just at one point that they were unable to bridge. But it was a good comeback from Royal, showing that when they play that forward-oriented rugby, they can be dangerous for even the most lethal running team. So can remember how close they fought with Pathana in the first game, just 1 point in that as well. And despite the fact that they did lose this game, just 1 point in this one as well. So Royal just 1 point away from 2 very good wins against Pathana and Kingswood. But the problem is for them that they actually conceded so many points in that Bradby, trying to play a game plan that they were not comfortable with. And that's what they've done after the Bradby. They've actually improved in their style of play because they've gone back to that game plan that all their players are able to play. So playing some good forward-oriented rugby, they conceded a lead but managed to come back. But still, a loss is a loss, and 19 points to 18 or 15 points to 14 doesn't make a difference because it's a 1 in the L column and not the W column. So that's the problem for Royal at that end. St. Peter's then took on St. Joseph's for the Father Basil Veeratunga Trophy, and unfortunately for the Josephians, it's the 15th year running that St. Peter's have won this championship, because the last time that St. Joseph's managed to win was in 1999 under Dinuk D.S. Vijayaratna. And since then, St. Peter's have won every single encounter that these two sides have played. But this time, since 2011, you may remember when a wrong yellow card was given to Johan Kaiser, and that match that St. Joseph's were almost winning went St. Peter's way in the end. This was the closest chance they had to actually beating St. Peter's, but that was not to be, because St. Joseph's abandoned the game plan that was working so well for them. They had an 11 points to 5 lead at one stage and looked like they might be able to hold on to that if they kept playing the way that they were playing. They were playing a nice tight game. Vishmitha was coming in with Dulit Fernando on a nice scissor and taking the defenders out of the way for St. Peter's and really creating some go-forward ball for his forwards. But unfortunately, in the second half, they seemed to abandon that game plan. They made the substitutions. I don't know yet if it was tactical or whether it was due to injury of Stefan Gregory and Hasuru Gunawardena, who was the prop and the centre. And once those two guys, those key guys, went off, then the Josephian game plan fell somewhat by the wayside, and they were unable to get any sort of good ball to their forwards to do the damage that they were doing all this time. So unfortunately for them, they abandoned that plan in the second half, and Kevin Dixon was the recipient of some good ball movement from Jai Vikrama, who came on at fly half, and he scored in the corner at Havelock Park to take his side out to a 16-11 victory. And Dixon has been a try-scoring machine for the Pete Wrights as well. TRR Fernando also scoring a good try in the first half after he was set up nicely by a good run, a straight run by Avishka Ranasinghe. And that's what Peters are lacking, though. They're missing someone who straightens the line. They've got some great players who can beat other opponents for pace, but they don't have someone who straightens the line, and that's something they really need to work towards when they take on Pathana in the next game that's coming up for them this weekend. Speaking of Pathana, they put on another fantastic performance against Science College. Science College were gutsy, but didn't really have the players, the personnel, or even the game plan or the set-piece ability to take on a side with as much quality through 1 to 15 as Pathana have. 55 points to 7 is how that one finished, and it was an outstanding display of attacking rugby once again by this Pathana team. And I really have to commend guys like Bandara and Isuru Dilshan, who are working so hard in that back row. And if I can find one fault in the entire game, it was the fact that they didn't defend very well the 8-9-14 move, which resulted in the only try that Science College scored. They executed it beautifully. Ishan Viraj off the back to the scrum half Madhushanka and off to the winger, who scored the try with an overlap. So that was where I thought they need to improve, because at 8-9-14 defense, with the flanker coming in, the scrum half coming round maybe, and Omalka Gunaratna getting across to cover the winger was not happening, and that's something perhaps that they need to work on, and that was probably the only flaw I could find in an outstanding performance once again for Missy Pathana. They're using their kicking game well, their chase is fantastic, they spin the ball through the hands very quickly, and they're very dangerous off turnover balls. So when they come up against St. Peter's, I think it might be an easy win for the Pathanians if the current form book is to be gone by. But if St. Peter's come up with a superlative performance like they did perhaps against St. Thomas's, then you might really have a fairly competitive game. But if things go according to the form that we are currently in, then Pathana are going to be easy runaway winners in that match as well. So 55 points to 7. Science College really need to improve in their set pieces. They've got some very good players, but a lot of them heavily strapped due to injury, probably not playing at a 100% fitness, but they've got some guys who can really carry the ball forward. Karuna Tilaka, guys like Ishan Viraj as well. Madhushankar, the scrum half, had a decent game. So they've got players who they can do something with, but unfortunately as a team unit, they aren't the best in this Singer Schools League at all. And if you're using a 2-man line out in a 15-man game and you're using it all the time, then that shows that you have serious problems. And if you look at your scrum as well, as if you are Science College, and then you'll notice this try that they conceded just before half-time in the Pathana game. That was an out-hook in a tight head. Omarka Gunaratna went away and Gallagher had only to run in for an easy try, and you've got to secure your own ball in your scrums. If you can't do that, then you're going to be shipping big points against these big teams. The next match that we have to talk about is the Canon RS Deserum Trophy between St. Thomas's and Trinity. Trinity hosting the match this time, and we're hoping for some revenge after Devin Jasing's side did a number on them last year at Havelock Park, and Tharindra Ratwata was not about to let that happen again, and his side blasted off straight out of the blocks into a 31 points to 3 lead. Lochana Girahagama, Sachinta Disanayak, and of course Tharindra Ratwata in the thick of things, scoring the tries, setting them up as well. Ryan Veerakon starting as scrum half in that game, but needing to do a lot of learning, of course, in that position that Riddhi Mahali had vacated for that game. So let's wait and see how that junior comes along for the Trinity team. They use this game also to blood a lot of their youngsters. They put them into this trophy match, get them some experience, and they emptied the bench early on in the second half. But the rains came down, and that made the Trinity game plan a difficult one to execute, because they play that fast-flowing, offloading rugby, and that's always difficult in the rain. But what Trinity really do need to improve on, if you look at their try scorers, they're mainly the outside backs. So what they really need to do is try and score tries through their forwards as well. Get their set piece and their line out, their rolling maul perhaps as one of their main weapons, because if the conditions don't suit the running game, then they have another option. Although they have some big strong forwards, and Rangala is one of those forwards who's scoring tries, but he's scoring them more like a three-quarter instead of more from forward-oriented play. So that's something that perhaps Trinity could work on before they take on Kingswood in a huge game next weekend for both teams. And depending on who wins that one, if Kingswood manage to win that one, then they will go on to challenge Pathana. It will all come down to the last week, because if Kingswood manage to beat Pathana in Kandy, then that draw against St. Peter's will mean nothing, because Pathana will have a loss too, and the title will go to Kingswood. So we're looking at some very, very interesting last 2 weekends of the Singer Schools League, and we'll be happy to bring you all that action live and exclusive on thepapare.com. And don't forget to tune into your roundup as well to find out what happened over the weekend. So thanks for joining us. We'll see you again on the weekend, live and exclusive, streaming all the action to you, sharing the passion on thepapare.com.